He says doctored narratives seek to run India down. He says need bold counter-cautioning against what he called doctored narratives that seek to run down India's growth story. Vice President Jagdeep Dhankhar said here Wednesday, that's in Delhi, that dumping of information was another way of invasion. We have to boldly neutralize it. About the invasion, Dhankhar has said in an interaction with a group of Indian Information Service, that's IAS probationers, at his residence on Wednesday. He called on them to become real protectors of democracy and nationalism. Dhankhar's remarks come even as income tax authorities continued their survey of the offices of BBC in New Delhi and Mumbai for a second consecutive day. On Wednesday, officials have alleged that the news organisation did not comply with transfer pricing norms and diverted profit. The BBC has said it is fully cooperating with the probe. We're across to my colleague Arun Dhanta, brings us more on this statement. Very good morning to Arun. Jagdeep Dhankhar is saying need to neutralize the counter-narrative of BBC. But this while the centre maintains that the raids are purely an economic exercise.
Well, see, Jagdeep Dhankhar, while interacting with the students, probations of Indian Information Services, made these remarks where he talked about the doctored narrative, and in fact he called it another way of invasion. We had seen had seen various invasions, and this time around he's talking about the information invasion, and therefore he was cautioning all of them, the Indian Information Services probations. And he said that at a time when India is growing, we have become the fifth largest economy in the world. And therefore, at that point in time, some sinister designs are there who float a narrative against India. And therefore, it is important to actually keep a check on such kind of invasion. And as you rightly mentioned, that this has come at a time when we are seeing that IT surveys being conducted in the office premises of the BBC. But of course, Jagdeep Dhankhar, the Vice President, did not name in his speech. But of course, the messaging was very clear when he talked about the dumping of information, when he talked about the doctored narratives and the invasion in such a way. So of course, the line of his speech was what is happening
Absolutely.
At this juncture about the BBC.
Arun, stay with us while we also play out that exact statement of Jagdeep Dhankhar during his address.
Information. We have to be alert. This is to set afloat a narrative by free fall of information. We have to be alert. This is another way of invasion. We have to boldly neutralize it. We have to instill in us a spirit of nationalism. We cannot allow free fall of doctored narratives to run down our growth story.
Now we're joined by Mr. R.P. Singh of the BJP. Very good morning to you, sir. So while these IT raids are going on, the survey rather is going on at the BBC offices, these comments come in the backdrop of that. This is an editorial comment on the content of BBC while the centre is conducting an economic exercise on the office. How do you view this? How do you view these comments coming in the backdrop of these raids?
Well, Mr. Dhankhar has very rightly put it that there's a doctored view being presented to the world by certain NGOs, certain countries, and certain corporations for their personal interest, and it's been done intentionally, especially during the G20 summit is going to happen in India for this year. So there is a game plan of political parties in India, especially the Congress and the Mandal parties, with corporations like BBC, with NGOs, so-called research agencies, all put together to defame country, to defame India.
Sir, do you believe that the raids are only from the viewpoint of financial transactions, or do you believe that now with these comments coming in, there is definitely a link to the kind of content that the BBC is putting out as well?
Well, it has nothing to do with the content, or it has nothing to do with their media activity. It's basically related to their financial activities. And it has not happened first time. It happened 4 times in UPA regime also. And even for this also, notices were served before the survey has started. Any financial agency started survey, they have to issue notices. And then technically for 2 months, they have had to issue the notices, and that process was complete. And